Hello, my name is Alan Bigelow. I'm the Program and Science Director at Solar Cookers International. And I would like to start by congratulating the United Arab Emirates for hosting this year's COP28. It's been wonderful to be here, and we're delighted to have this press conference today. We have two invited guest speakers from Yemen, and so on my left, Abdullah Babeid, the Climate Change Coordinator at Nada Makers Organization. And on my right, we have Mohammed Hussein Al-Sayed, the Executive Director at Nada Makers Organization. And Solar Cookers International has been associated with the organization, Nada Makers Organization, as a consultant through some work that we've done together in Yemen. So, I would like to just give a little bit about a background about what a solar cooker is. And on this slide, you can see three types of solar cookers. A solar cooker is essentially a device that collects and absorbs direct sunlight and retains heat to cook food or pasteurize water. So it has broad applications. These are solar thermal devices, and there are hundreds of variations on these three basic types. We do also promote complementary technologies. The retained heat basket is a very simple storage mechanism that can be used to continue cooking into the evening or to keep meals warm. And also for to check if your water has become pasteurized and that the waterborne microbes have been eradicated. There's a water pasteurization indicator, also known as a WAPI. Who is Solar Cookers International? We are a nonprofit organization leading the solar cooking sector since 1987. We're based in Sacramento, California. However, we work worldwide through collaborators, and we do have hundreds of collaborators in over 135 countries. The mission and vision of Solar Cookers International mission is to improve human health, economic well-being, women's empowerment, and the environment by promoting climate-friendly solar cooking for vulnerable populations worldwide. So the problem at hand is really those who are still cooking over open fires using polluting fuels. So Solar Cookers International works through three areas: building capacity, advocacy, and research. So to get started on our conversation today, I'm delighted to be able to revisit this work, which we've been working through in a remote fashion. So SCI's contributions were as a consultant with remote work. So the name of the project that we were working on was called Increasing Resilience Through Innovative and Sustainable Improvement of Food Security and Livelihoods for Returnees, IDPs, Migrants, and host communities in the western coastal areas of Yemen. So we're here today to hear NMO present an update about this important initiative in Yemen. So my first question is to Abdullah, and it's about setting the context. What is it like in Yemen? So Abdullah, can you share how does climate change impact Yemen?
So thank you. Thank you, Alan, for this opportunity, and thank you to Solar Cookers International for this wonderful collaboration. Yemen is a country in the Middle East, in the Arabian Peninsula, has a population of nearly 30 million people. Yemen has a semi-arid climate, arid to semi-arid climate, and has been impacted heavily by climate change. The rate of increased temperature, the average increase temperature in Yemen has been more than the global average, and this was reflected in increased heat waves, increased temperatures, temperature maximums, more droughts and more floods, and eventually, at the end of the day, a decline in the agricultural production and loss of vegetation and energy access issues. Yemen is, even before climate change, suffers from sustainable development issues. The conflict heavily impacted the population. And we work in Nahda Maker organization and as well as in many other people and government, other CSOs and private sector in order to overcome these obstacles towards sustainable development. So,
thank you, Abdullah. And now I'd like to turn to Mohammed and ask, who is Nahda Makers organization and what is your role related to climate change, the role of the organization?
Yes, thank you, Alan, and welcome everybody. Nahda Makers organization, it is a national NGO based in Yemen since 2012, and its work across all Yemen with several partners, UN agencies and international NGOs to support people in Yemen to recovery from the war and effects that it's affect all the humanitarian and development issues in Yemen. NMO is working in several sectors, specifically in food security, livelihood, in education, in shelter, in water and sanitation, and also in the governance and capacity building issues. What's already NMO tried to do in the related of the climate change to include climate change as a mainstreaming in all of our projects and programs, specifically in the water, energy, and food projects. We try to include in all our projects as a solar systems in schools, in health facilities, in homes, in community centers, and also we are focusing on agriculture. One of the main source of income in Yemen, it is agriculture. 70% of households in Yemen is rare on agriculture as a generation of income. We support the farmers in terms of providing support seeds and techniques, irrigation systems, and also protect the farms from the floods, which is affected from the climate change, the coming period.
Thank you very much. Turning back to Abdullah, we would like to understand a little bit more about the background and the context of the solar cooking initiatives that you are working on. So could you describe that?
thank you very much. So Solar Cookers International was contracted as an international consultant to help us working with solar cooking because we did not have the understanding of the technology in terms of the social dimension. We also wanted some major help in order to navigate the different technologies and the different solutions of solar cooking. We had the capacity with the brilliant engineers that we had in creating the solution and manufacturing the solar cooker. But we didn't know, for example, which solar cooker that we should go for and what are the different types that we should look into. As the project initially was intended for the west coast of Yemen. This area is very arid. The climate is very harsh, high wind, high temperature, very little vegetation cover. And we also had the challenge, or that area had the challenge of limited livelihood opportunities for the population because it was also affected by the conflict. It was very close to the front, to one of the major war fronts in the conflict in Yemen. And the solar cooker helped us through the first year of the project, identifying our priorities, navigating the different options, and of course, with our collaboration, we could help and build something that is more sustainable for the area, which I believe in the later stages in the presentation we will go over.
Yeah, thank you. You've mentioned some of the goals for this project, but I'm wondering if you could elaborate a little more on the goals and the funding for this initiative, and how did that all come together? I know that Solar Cookers International was brought in as a consultant, but there was more background to that story. And could you share a little bit more about how that
So
came
we
about?
had this opportunity to work with SCI, with funding from the PMZ, the German cooperation, which also supported and financed DKH Daikone Helfen Helpe, which is a German organization working in Yemen. And DKH, shortly DKH, of course, contracted with Solar Cookers International Of course, after consulting with us, after we felt that this partnership could go forward due to the quality of work that Solar Cookers International is engaged in.
Yeah, thank you. And you mentioned earlier some of the benefits in working together. And so I have to say that I really enjoyed the experience. I was the member at Solar Cookers International who was primarily tasked with this work. And living in New York, in a different time zone as Yemen, we often had to be careful on how we scheduled our calls. But one thing that I thought that was a real benefit for us was we had a very strong internet connection. So I'm just going to mention that for others who might be working remotely, to have a very strong communication pathway, that was a crucial factor, I think, for the success of transferring information, having productive phone calls and meetings, et cetera. So I want to just take a moment of why is it important for SCI to be working with groups like NMO, and it relates to what I just said. Is SCI is a relatively small organization in terms of staff members, but we work with so many collaborators around the world that it is so important to be able to do that and to have remote opportunities. So this was an excellent example of that. Now, Abdullah, I know that we have a number of slides to go through to give an update from the work. And so I want to thank you again for being here to present the exciting work you and your team have done and are doing. You're continuing this initiative to build capacity for the solar cooking sector in Yemen. So I'm wondering, while you share the work, we look forward to hearing things like, what has it been like to be a pioneer in solar cooker manufacturing and distribution in Yemen? And how has SCI been able to help with that work in manufacturing and the awareness raising campaign? Why has this initiative been particularly important in a conflict region? And maybe talk about some of the challenges that you've encountered and how you were able to work around those challenges. So some of these questions I can come back afterward, but I'm going to turn this clicker over to you, and this green button will allow you to move through the slide deck. And so please share your update. Thank you so much.
Thank you. These are so many questions. Okay, so thank you. So the first thing is that, let me just explain very briefly the structure of this project. We wanted to work with both men and women. And we took this opportunity as a capacity building opportunity for the community. We wanted to build the resilience for the community. So the goals of the project went far and beyond solar cooking as a solution. It was about building the capacity and resilience for the community to manufacture their solution whenever they want to do that. If they want tomorrow to focus on and spin off their business or their skills towards another livelihood work, that would be possible and easy and feasible for them. This is just an example of one of the outcomes that we were doing. We wanted to make the people able to manufacture something that we would be proud of distributing as an NMO. This is something we distributed that we manufactured with our main beneficiaries. The main beneficiaries were not the people that received the kits or the bags or the solar cookers. They were the people who made them. So we engaged in an intensive training program. We built the workshops from scratch, 15 workshops in different locations in very rural, difficult areas to access. And we taught the people how to work with metal. That's for men. And for women, we helped them making bags, just like the bag that we showed, that you saw in the previous slide, as well as working with food processing and food drying in order to utilize the scarce resources of agriculture production that they have access to. We taught them all the basic skills, welding, cutting, grinding, and so on. And the women did also a wonderful and beautiful job. The approach was gender sensitive. Before we engaged in designing such a solution, we asked the people, especially the women, what they would like to learn. A lot of organizations before us, thankfully, and we are grateful to them for the work they did, engaged in simple cloth sewing and food and clothes production, which is great. But there is also a limit to that market in the local context. We taught them how to make bags. We worked with them to learn how to do that with the help of an excellent entrepreneur, a startup who's manufacturing bags in Yemen in another city. And that entrepreneur was not even a trainer. So we worked with the private sector, the entrepreneurs, the young entrepreneurs to be our trainers, to be the ones engaged on the ground in order to booster and support both the private sector, both the beneficiaries, and have an access to the market. And it's a great practice because since we are here in the COP, the small businesses in Yemen and the similar contexts are very conscious of using resources. They do not use waste resources. They use every material that they have access to, and they produce something useful out of everything. They optimize the principle of recycle, reuse, and rebuild. We also engaged with metal workshops in order to be our trainers, because we didn't have enough trainers who are like practitioner and also trainers. So we took practitioners from the market, from the private sector. We taught them how to be trainers, and they were excellent and magnificent trainers. And they worked with the beneficiaries, the trainees, in order to come up with solutions that I did not expect, like, for example, this fuel-efficient stove. And that was a great experience, honestly. We also worked with the ladies and agricultural women in food processing. We wanted to improve the quality of some of the products. For example, the dried chilies, which is a popular product in Yemen, but had some inconsistency issues and some quality of production issues. And we worked with them in order to make the dryers and eventually use the dryers in order to improve the quality of the produce that they are using. This is a picture from, also I mentioned the manufacturing of bags, going through all the steps, manufacturing different products with different types, with high quality, that we would be proud of buying from the market if we were just regular consumers. And this is just one type of uses that we did not expect when we distributed the solar cookers. So one beneficiary just made a cake. I was expecting some rice. I was expecting something else. But they had some innovative ideas to reuse the resources that they had and make something that they like. This is just rice, which I expected. So yeah, I think we just came through all the slides.
Thank you so much. Abdullah, I believe that at the time when Solar Cookers International finished its consultancy aspect of this work, some of the first results were coming in from your monitoring and evaluation. And it was very interesting to see that the uptake of this technology was trending in a positive way. And I was wondering if you could comment on how things have been since then. Are you seeing any particular trends or impact that this work is having on the population that is involved with the initiative?
So the uptake, of course, you have the external factors. It's not easy to change the habits of the people. The external factor, in this case, you have two opposite factors. The first was that the prices of liquid gas has dropped, but the prices of solid fuel, basically wood and charcoal, has increased. People liked the solar cookers. They found it useful and they found it easier to use. But it was hard to change some of the cooking habits because they would need just the time and so on. So it was good overall. It was better than we expected. In reality, I believe the numbers of adoption is more than 70% of the people are using the solar cookers. They did not neglect them. They keep maintaining them. That's with regards to solar cooking. But as I mentioned, of course, the biggest value that we provided, the biggest value that working with SCI has brought is that one of the steps of the consultancy that we went through is that what are the skills that the people would acquire if they built the solar cookers? And we went through all of them, and we make sure that these skills are transferable to the general market where they can produce other products. One little story, one example is that the donor representative wanted to visit the field, and the officer in charge, Mr. Engineer Khalil Awadi, decided that his trainees would make a door because it was a recently rented workshop, and basically made the door in half a day, just using scrap and materials available, and they installed the door, which is for people who have any kind of experience, they would realize this requires good work in terms of controlling tolerances, welding, cutting, and so on. And to do that in a very short amount of time was something I'm very happy. And I would like, since I'm going off topic here, I would like to acknowledge the work, because it was not just because of us as an institution, it was because of the individual resolve of the team members that we have. Ashraf al-Sindi, Khalil al-Awadi, Ali Sani, Ali Muhammad, Khulud Muhammad, and Muhammad Marzouk. They are just wonderful. They just go overtime, they go overboard, they come up with innovative solutions, and they go up beyond duty. So I really want to thank them.
Yeah. Thank you. And I want to thank you and Nada Makers organization for the tremendous job you have done. It's outstanding. And at SCI, we're happy to now know you so well, to be able to recommend you as a manufacturer to other organizations who may want to have a solar cooker. So to turn now to Mohammed, again from your side, if you could answer the question about why is what NMO and SCI working on so critical and urgent. And urgency is a trend that I'm noticing here at this COP as we've been meeting other delegates and individuals and other organizations, that the urgency for truly sustainable clean cooking is at the highest level I've ever heard before. So if you could comment from your side. Thank you.
As Abdullah mentions also that the clean cooking in Yemen, it's one of the opportunities for the futures. As you know, most of the other alternatives of fuel and other things going increased, and also to protect the biodiversity, because a lot of rural areas in Yemen, they are cutting trees and bringing woods for the cooking. So that Yemen has an opportunity for these things, and we think that when we establish or pioneer in this initiative in the ground, a lot of other areas and regions inside Yemen, they start looking forward, how can we take this opportunity to other areas, so that we can build on this experience and good collaboration between NMO and SCI, and what the information take. And also other things, the urgency that we hear in the COP here about the importance of the clean cooking, maybe what is the other stories from other countries? How can we share knowledge between us and them? What's the things going well, what's doing not, so that we can exchange better the knowledge and experience to have a good products at the end of the day.
Okay, thank you. And you commented that this is a future, there's a future for solar cooking. If other organizations want to order solar cookers and solar dryers made by Nada Makers organization, how would they do that?
Yes, as you know, Yemen has a lot of ports, and even it is not that much critical, the situation is critical, and we have a lot of restriction. But already Yemen has exported a lot of products, for example, vegetables and also fruits and honey, coffee, a lot of things. So that this type of products, we already established workshops. It's owned by the beneficiaries themselves, so that we can have some orders from neighbors areas which they do want for this solar cooking, and we can coordinate with them together how can we export these products to them.
Okay, I hope you all heard that NMO is open for business to take your orders for solar cookers and solar dryers. Again, outstanding, the work that you've done, and it's really been a pleasure to have worked with you all so far, and we look forward to keeping that going. Again, at Solar Cookers International, we promote solar thermal cooking in areas of greatest need for vulnerable communities, and particularly for women and young girls who are the most stressed over the cooking situations when the family is using polluting fuels because they may have no other option. However, if there is sunlight and that's available, that is a free source for cooking food. So do please keep that in mind. And we have been delighted to have this opportunity to interact. And we want to just thank also the other organizations involved in this work. So DKH, the German humanitarian organization, and of course the main donor, the German government. Okay, so thank you very much for your attention. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.